And just not in a logical way, the way Mark did, but he just puts it in here and there. He ordered them not to make him known, but of course everybody told him. Verse 17, another one of Matthew's Old Testament fulfillments, but it's again highly tweaked and distorted because it's not what it meant originally. This was to fulfill. What was to fulfill? Well, the good deeds he did for people. This was to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah. And what did he say? Behold my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, with whom my soul is well pleased. Well, that's Jesus. I will put my Spirit upon him. Everything Jesus does, he does through the Holy Spirit. And he will proclaim justice to the Gentiles. Now, what the heck does this have to do with the context here? These are all Jews he's been healing and having trouble with. Now, he throws in this thing about the Gentiles. He will not wrangle or cry aloud, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. In the local Jewish area, he's be as if silent. He will not break a bruised reed or quench a smoldering wick until he brings justice to victory in his name again. The Gentiles will hope. So maybe he's summarizing what he was talking about in Bethsaida and these other places. If the Jews don't respond, the Gentiles will. Although Matthew is eager to convert his fellow Jews, he's beginning to realize those Jews who founded the church, and all the founders of the church were all Jews. After the initial group that came in, the others are not going to. But the Gentiles are beginning to respond. That's why he has wise men, Gentile wise men, at the manger. Luke has Jewish shepherds. He has Gentile wise men. And that's why at the end the centurion says, this is the Son of God. Centurion's a Roman. The Jew didn't say it. The Roman said it. So he's seeing that the future of the church is in the Gentile world, and indeed it was. But now let's look at this strange passage, and then we'll conclude with this. In Isaiah, and he's taking it from Isaiah what? Isaiah 42. This is 2nd Isaiah. Who is the servant? You know, it's Cyrus. King Cyrus. I read this, there are 4 servant songs in Isaiah. And one of them is talking about the servant of God as a Gentile. Cyrus, the king of Persia, who was anointed by God to liberate the Jews who were captive in Babylon for 50 years. The Persians, under Cyrus, conquered Babylon and allowed the Jews to go home and be free. A second Exodus. Well, this is the servant that's being talked about. My chosen, my beloved, not the Jews, but the king of Persia, a Gentile. I'll put my Spirit upon him, and he will proclaim justice to the Gentiles. Cyrus, the king of Persia, swept across the Middle East and brought what Isaiah says is a just rule, as opposed to the Babylonian rule. And the Jews loved Cyrus. He liberated them. And then it says, he will not break a bruised reed or quench a smoldering wick. I think the bruised reed and the smoldering wick is the remnants of Israel after 50 years of exile in Babylon. He won't hurt us. He will comfort us and let us go home and support us. He even provided money to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Cyrus was taking no chances. He said, all the captive peoples in Babylon, and the Jews were just one group, in 538 BC, go home, rebuild your shrines, and pray for me. So in the Jerusalem temple, they had prayers for King Cyrus. Cyrus said, well, one of these religions has got to be true, so if they're all praying for me, how can I lose? And he admired the Jews, and the Jews admired him. So the bruised reed, suffering Israel, he will not hurt us further, he'll protect us. And in his name, the Gentiles, the whole population of the Middle East, with the exception of the Jews, they were all Gentiles, they will hope for the just rule of Cyrus. So he takes this out of context. Either he misunderstood it or he decides it's in the public domain so he can make it mean whatever he wants, and he makes it refer to Jesus healing broken people, bruised reeds and smoldering wicks. And it's very nice, except for the 2 Gentile references, which don't fit in here, but I don't think Matthew was particularly concerned. In the overall message of Matthew, it's fine, but just here, to put it after healing Jews, it does seem strange to me. So his order is not quite as logical as Mark's, because he's reworking Mark, and he doesn't always do it to the greatest possible effect. All right, we'll pick it up on page 62 next week.